Okay, so I'm interning for the ABC Global Assignment Desk this summer in New York City, and I will be primarily at the assignment desk. So I'll be doing a lot of research, writing web articles, bringing in guests, doing things like that. But I'll also be able to go out in the field with correspondents and producers that, I've been admiring since I was a little kid, that I've always wanted to meet. So that was definitely a big selling point for my internship this summer, being able to really make those connections. I'm the only intern in that department, in the news department. So that was also a big factor as to why I chose to go out for this internship, because I feel like being the only intern versus one of many gives me a lot of really unique opportunities. And I didn't think opportunities like that existed in such big markets and in such big newsrooms. So I could see myself either going into show production, which I think would be really interesting, or being a reporter or producer in the field or a correspondent. So my ultimate goal, I think, in the future would probably be a network correspondent for a network like ABC or NBC. I think that'd be really, really cool. And I think this is my first step to getting there. Yeah. So I applied, and it feels really good because I did it on my own merit. It wasn't something where, and I don't know a lot of people in the industry, but it wasn't something, I did it in my own merit, and it wasn't something where I was constantly reaching out to people who work at ABC and figuring out who would be my boss if I were to get this internship. I just kind of sent out my application and was like, oh, maybe this will come through. I ended up getting a first round interview and then a second. And then when she told me they were hiring one person, I was like, okay, maybe, a person from Indiana University, you have every school in the country, you have everyone applying for this internship. So I was like, I don't know, somebody's kid will probably, something like that. And so I ended up getting the call while I was here. I was actually in my broadcast class, and I ended up getting the call, and I missed it, and I saw it was a New York area code. And so I called her back. Within 10 minutes, I walked out into the Commons, the media school, and, she kind of told me, I want to talk about the internship you applied for. And I was just thinking that, maybe I didn't get it. And then when she told me that I got it, I kind of, every other internship option in my head just kind of disappeared. I was like, this is it, and I have to accept. I can't not accept this internship. And so I ended up accepting and kind of going through the process, and it's really, really exciting. And it feels so good to do something like that on my own merit, because I didn't think that I would be at that point. I didn't think that I was at that point, and I didn't think that I would, be able to do something like that without at least knowing somebody who worked there. So it was really cool to find out, and it kind of reaffirmed my passions, because I feel like this year I've kind of been confused, like show production, correspondence work, I love both, or PR, like all these different forms of media. And I think after solidifying an internship like this, it's kind of like, oh, maybe this is where I'm meant to be. You know what I mean? So it kind of made me feel really good about that too. So I started IUS TV right when I walked on campus as a freshman. I didn't know anything about broadcast news. I was just interested in it. I really ended up liking it. And so that kind of kickstarted me into resume builders. So I started, getting involved with that. It's a really small program, so there's a lot of individualized work. It makes it really easy to get a leadership position and really get hands-on work. So I think I started doing that really early. My career advisor, kind of told me I was on the right track. I think in a big public school like this, the thing is, we have great faculty, great career advisors, everything like that, but it's a lot of going out and doing things on your own. So it's making your own connections, and it's applying the internships that normally kids from here wouldn't apply for. Normally people, we like staying local, we like doing things during the year, and we don't realize that it's a really big world out there, and we can really get those opportunities. We may be from Southern Indiana, but we go to such a great school, and it looks better than we think it does. We kind of take it for granted. And, people really, really want that diversity in their internship departments, whether that be in New York or California or Texas or anywhere else in the Midwest. They want that diversity. So, I think that just being from the Midwest is probably an advantage in general, and going to a big school like this where we have all the opportunities that we do, because you go to a smaller school, things not are handed to you, but it's easier to get involved because it's all right there. But going to a school like this, especially Indiana, kind of trains you to go out on your own and get those opportunities and kind of seize it. You know what I mean? Nobody just hands it to you. You have to go do it. And that's kind of what I realized being here. And I wouldn't, trade that for anything, because, going to a smaller school, where it's easier, a private school, where it's a lot easier to meet with your advisor and they give you more individualized, recommendations. Finding that on your own and having to do those things on your own, I think was really beneficial for me, because it really got me out of my comfort zone. And that also got me out of my comfort zone at other internships I've had too.
Right, you gotta do it.
Yeah, you gotta do it. It's huge, and you can be interested in something and you can tell your advisor that, and they're not gonna say, I'm not gonna tell my advisor I'm interested in television news, She's not going to say, oh, you need to go to this meeting on this day and this will help you get there. They don't do that. And I think that that's better than them doing that, because I think you having to realize that and do it yourself and realize, hey, I'm not going to get there without doing things like that, or I'm not going to at least get to this point now. Like, I would not be at this point now if I didn't do IU student television. I probably wouldn't have even have gotten an interview if I didn't have a leadership position on my resume. And me figuring that out for myself and doing that myself makes it feel all the much better being able to get an opportunity like that. Yeah, so I think junior year, we'll start with that. Junior year is kind of that mid-college life crisis where you're kind of like, okay, what am I actually doing? Because you're doing your major and you can be really passionate freshman and sophomore year, and that can literally all change for junior year. So I think that getting this internship kind of reaffirmed that, doing things, and when you really start getting graded on things, you're like, wow, am I actually good enough to do something like this? And then when you get an opportunity like this and they choose you, you realize I could be good enough. I am actually good enough, and it kind of reaffirms that. But also, I think that at my internship this summer, I really want to push the boundaries with maybe more investigative work for myself, and just seeing how to really go in depth with things. It is a global news desk, so obviously I won't be able to fly out to all the stories that every single correspondent is going out to. But I think it'd be really, really, even though I won't be answering phones all day and I won't be really a gopher at my internship, I think it'd be really, really awesome to really go out in the field and see correspondents that have been at every single level. So go out with them and be able to put together my own stories with that. So kind of, I've seen how a local newsroom works, and I've seen how a college newsroom works, but seeing how a global newsroom works and being able to learn from people who actually made it to that point. A lot of people don't make it to that point because they either get burnt out or, they don't have the skill level. So being able to learn from people at that skill level, I think will be so important. So I'll obviously probably push trying to get more individualized time with those people, and maybe get critiques on what I end up doing there from those types of people. So I think that'd be really interesting. I also think being able to pitch more, I will be able to pitch stories in meetings, and I'll be able to go to meetings and things like that. So maybe pitching more like long-term enterprise stories on, things locally in New York would be really interesting, and being able to work alongside people with that. Like, if they have an idea, give my idea too, or say, this is a good idea, so things like that. I mean, them being able to take what I would say and kind of put it into the more professional atmosphere, I think would be interesting. Obviously, I haven't even had a first day yet, so I'm not quite sure. I mean, it's the assignment desk internship, so I'm not quite sure of like what, I think every day will be different. So I think every day it's about pushing boundaries, but just getting out of my comfort zone and talking to people there, and realizing that I'm a small fish in a big pond, and, trying to figure out how to make myself stand out somewhere like that, I think will be really, really something I should work on while I'm there. The two biggest pieces of advice that I think that have helped me make connections, I think, are not being afraid to ask questions to people that are higher up than you, whether that be the president of ABC News or whether that's, the news director at IUS TV. Not being afraid to ask questions, and then really putting yourself out there, not just doing your stories and kind of letting them sit in your possession, but doing your stories and emailing them to news directors and getting on LinkedIn and making your profile and making yourself stand out there, and then messaging people who you think are way out of your league. Messaging people at a company that you'd want to work at. I mean, the worst thing they can do is not reply or say no. But if you think about it, not a lot of people actually do that. And that's what makes you stand out. That's what makes your name out. That's what makes people think, wow, this person really wants to be here. I mean, I got a lot of interviews for other types of internships just by reaching out on LinkedIn to people, because a lot of times applications won't even be out. And that's not even about the media world. That's the business world. That's the medical field. That's everything. It's really all about who you know, but it's not just about who you know. It's about who knows you. So you can say, I added this person on LinkedIn and message them, but if they don't know you and you don't keep up a relationship with them, they're not going to remember you. So it's all about who you know, but it's also about who knows you. So I think asking questions and then not being afraid to reach out to superiors in a company. Because, like I said, the worst thing they can say is no. As long as you send a decent message, or as long as you reach out in a polite, professional way, there's nothing wrong with doing it. Like I said, the worst thing that people can say is no, or just not respond to you. So just really putting yourself out there. If you're in the media world, put your work online, get yourself published. If you're in the business world, get your business work published. talk to professors about how you can show that to higher ups at a company that you'd want to work at one day. And that all starts your freshman year. I mean, you can do that. You can spend your whole junior year, you can spend your whole senior year doing that, but if you didn't reach out to people earlier, you don't have a long-term relationship with them. So I would say just keeping good contact, staying in touch, and making sure they know you, and then just asking questions to people who are higher up than you. If you don't know how to do something, just ask. If you don't know how an internship program works, just ask. If you want to know how the president of Ernst & Young got to his position, or the CEO, ask someone who knows. You know what I mean? Just whatever you want to do, just be open to putting yourself out there and not getting out of your comfort zone when you do get there.